Powered by Arkansas, for Arkansas. This is Inside Arkansas Live.
And welcome into Inside Arkansas Live here on this beautiful day here in the great state of Arkansas. I'm your host, John Neighbors, alongside Curtis Wilkerson and Andrew Ellis, and appreciate each and every one of you for making us a part of your afternoon this afternoon as we are getting closer to the weekend. Folks, I know a lot of you are excited. We're officially in October, and it's going to be gearing up for a great weekend for many reasons, and we're going to talk a lot about that. We're going to get, of course, into the latest on the coaching search and the coaching madness and coaching chaos that comes with the Razorbacks. We'll have our HD roofing and construction heavy hitters. We'll get into the chats. I have some other things to talk about when it comes to SEC football. We'll get to basketball, baseball, that good stuff, and have some fun doing it. But guys, happy Thursday. How are the vibes here on this beautiful October day in Arkansas?
Pretty good. I was freaking out for a second there. I was hearing like double us and it was a little bit off. And I was like, what the heck is going on? I had accidentally clicked on my own live on Twitter without realizing. I was like, where's this coming from? I don't understand. Had me tripping for a second, but no, doing good, man. I'm excited that we're getting closer to the weekend for two reasons. One, prime time at the Palace is going to be a thing tomorrow. We get to see this basketball team in action. And then it's one of those where we buried the lead a little bit with all this, coaching search, Bobby Petrino interim thing. The Hogs don't play this weekend. So we have like a work-free, knock on wood, college football Saturday that we can enjoy. That's a beautiful thing. So I am excited about that as well.
Yeah, I'm excited about that as well. So excited that this feels like the longest week of my entire life. Can y'all believe that it was only 3 days ago that Bobby Petrino was named the interim coach? 3.5, I guess. Is that really maybe 4? I don't know. But it's like it hasn't been that long, but good Lord, man, it feels like we've lived a lifetime. But I'm excited. I'm in good spirits. I'm ready to talk ball.
Yeah, it's the same thing, man. It's like it's just when these coaching searches or these coaching changes happen, it just feels like it's a long time, but it's also kind of moving fast. You feel like, for instance, I don't know if you guys have been the same way, and I'm not trying to mean this as an insult, but it's like Sam Pitman really hasn't even entered into my mind much at all as far as talking about that, because there's just been the Petrino and then the firing of the defensive coaches and then what the things with Yurachek and what they're going to be looking at and who they're going to be looking for. It's just almost like Sam Pitman seems so far gone away from our minds, or at least my mind, to where I forget. Oh yeah, that guy actually was the head coach running out from the A on Saturday. He was the guy, but it's just that's how much chaos is formed. And, I know there's going to be a lot going on when it comes to the games and there'll be a lot more discussions, but it just makes me wonder, dude, hopefully it's not like this every week, where it's just madness. After this week, somebody else gets fired or then if your check goes and then suddenly it's like, okay, we're on AD search watch and then we have to do that. There's just so much chaos that could still happen. But I don't know, man. I may burn myself out if the weeks keep going on like this. We may just end up might not even making it to the end of the season.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. In fairness, Sam Pitman never really crossed my mind much anyway, even when he did have the job. But, here we are. So, yeah, this is nuts, man. And here's the thing. It's going to die down just a little bit. Like that's kind of the natural curve. It's not as crazy so far today as it has been maybe the last couple days leading up. But as soon as you think, okay, we're just going to settle in, maybe we can actually talk about what Arkansas might look like against Tennessee under Bobby and all that. Then somebody's going to release Hot Board 2.0 with new names or whatever on it, and it's just going to pique everybody's interest. It's going to go crazy once again, or somebody will just completely make something up, and that will generate way more traction than it needs to. But that's the way that it's going to be, because we're going to be doing this for 2 months. So I am very much riding the waves, and we'll just see where this thing takes us.
Well, I disagree with you guys' sentiment, because I think about Sam Pitman every morning, and I have every morning this week, because I think every day when I wake up, I'm like, man, I wish I could trade places with Sam Pitman right about now. He's living large. He's having a great time. He's having way more fun than anybody else in this situation, that's for sure. And I'm sure he's got a lot to look forward to. But in terms of the peaks and valleys of this coaching search, I think it's a little bit like fall camp, where you get into fall camp early and you're so excited. You're like, all right, the season's here. Hell yeah. Desmond James looks awesome. Oh, this guy looks awesome. And then you start realizing, oh, wait, there's still 3-4 weeks before the season. And so I think soon fans are going to hit that wall where they realize, oh, wait a minute, it's the middle of October and they're not hiring a coach till probably Thanksgiving at the earliest. What are we doing here? We're going nuts. And that'll happen a little bit. But right now we're so excited. But it is going to be a long process, and I hope people don't lose sight of that.
Yes, it's going to be a long process. You have to be patient in it. I know none of you want to, but you have to be patient in it, and you have to just see how it all plays out. And there's a lot of moving parts to it, because right now where it stands, I mean, I think we talked about it yesterday with Bobby Petrino's SEC teleconference. We're not going to hear anything, of course, unless something crazy happens, but we're not going to hear anything about this football team until, again, what, Monday? I guess when Bobby Petrino does his first official by himself Monday press conference at noon, which I assume will keep going. So it's probably going to stay a little bit quiet, and you're not going to start hearing about coaching searches or anything like that as far as player or coaches that are getting contacted or anything like that. It's just a matter of waiting and seeing. And on top of it too, we'll be having Brandon Marcelo joining us here in about 1:15ish, and he'll give us the latest on what he knows and what he's hearing and looking at from the staff and all that. But guys, I know everyone's got their names. Everyone's got names that they want to have. It's just how it is. I probably have heard 86 different names about who, or maybe what do you think about this guy or whatever it is. And I'm just curious, take out the names, the type of coach you want. We talked a little bit about it. Do people want young and up and coming? Do people want that established Power 4 coach? Do people want the big splash name? Do people want to run it back with Bobby, or you have somebody like a Malzahn? I feel like that's really what it would come down to, instead of just necessarily the name of the coach, but the type of coach that people want. And so from y'all's perspective, is there a type of coach, just generally speaking, that you feel like would be the best for Arkansas, or at least the direction that they need to look for?
I mean, for me, I'm kind of in the camp of, young, innovative, exciting, slightly autistic. That's kind of what I'm looking for here. Something a little bit different, man. And that comes with the risk, because you just mentioned it. Maybe it's somebody who's an up and comer, or, they're probably not going to be, if they meet that criteria, at least they're not going to meet the, SEC head coaching success, level, or whatever. It might not be a decade of a high track record of winning. They might not have a bunch of CFP appearances or whatever, but that's where I'm at, man, because I'm thinking about building for the future. We can do the thing. I think Arkansas can, where they could make a particular hire that could lead to that short-term satisfaction, like somebody who could maybe flip it quick, but then where do they leave it in a few years? Which is kind of maybe where I fall with Bobby. I don't know, but I'm all for going a little bit younger. Sometimes you just got to catch lightning in a bottle, man. And some of these, young coaches right now that are killing it at some major programs, when they got hired, yeah, I mean, like their needle was pointing up, like they were trending in the right direction. But in a lot of cases, you don't know what you have until you have it. And the scary part about that is, I guess, when you're dealing with, the state of where Arkansas is at right now as an athletic department with administration, everything like that, you would really have to trust them and give a lot of benefit of the doubt if they go that route, that they get it right, that they make the right decision there. But I think for the future of the program, if they want to get to, to level up to where they want to be and stay there, that's what it's about for me, is having some staying power. I think that's the route that you got to go.
Yeah, so what's interesting about this is, like, you mentioned the different categories of kind of, you got your proven Power 4 coach, you've got your up-and-comer, you've got your big splash. There's guys in each of those categories that I could easily talk myself into. And then there's guys in that category that I would probably want to stay away from the same way. But there's a lot of things that you consider here. One, I think there's something to the premise of investing in someone who maybe isn't as proven, but this is your best opportunity to get someone. And so I think about some of these young coaches who are on a very clear positive trajectory. Like, we can argue about GJ Kinney and say, is he ready for an Arkansas level job? But he's clearly on a trajectory in his career that is going to the top. Will Stein at Oregon, obviously a very young guy. We can argue about whether or not he's ready for an SEC job, but he's clearly on a trajectory towards something great. So I think there's something to be said for, hey, is this the best chance you can get to get him? But I also think about Lane Kiffin. And, of course, Arkansas had multiple opportunities to hire Lane Kiffin, did not take advantage of those opportunities. But I also think back to the young version of Lane Kiffin, when he got hired as the Raiders coach, when he got hired as the Tennessee coach, when he got hired as the USC coach. He was maybe too young for those jobs when he got them. And that's probably why it didn't go out as well. And now you look at Lane Kiffin, and he's older, he's seasoned, he's figured out the game, and now here he is, he's about to lead his team to the playoff. And so I think about all of those things. Man, I would love to have some of that, but then you also don't want to hire the guy that's the Lane Kiffin that's going to not be ready for the job, and then he'll bounce around and then come back later. And so it's all fascinating, and there's a case to be made for all of it. But ultimately, at the end of the day, I lean towards what I'm looking for is a big splash. And it's not like, hey, it needs to be John Gruden. It's all about winning headlines. But it's like you just need somebody that is going to sell your fan base and rich people in your state and nationally. You need him to sell recruits. And so that can be a young guy. That can be an old guy. That can be a proven guy. That can be an unproven guy. Can you win us over? And can you sell us effectively and sell the rest of the state on this? That's what I'm looking for.
I'm willing to give a very specific answer real quick because I thought about this a ton last night. And the guy for me, like take out the likelihood of it happening or whatever, it's Kenny Dillingham. That's the guy for me. He's number one on my list because he checks all those boxes that I just laid out a minute ago. Plus what he just did, flipping that thing at Arizona State and getting them to the CFP. That's the dude for me. It ain't going to happen, but he's the one for me. That's my name. If anybody wants to, because they're always like, well, give us a name. Give us a name. Who's your top candidate? Whatever. Somebody will send a super chat in 30 seconds and say, okay, but if you had to name one guy, your top guy on the list, who would it be? That's mine. That's where we're at.
Yeah. I mean, I had, I guess in the Discord this morning, like, I finally just said a name because every person that I talk to is like, who do you want? Who do you want? I'm like, man, it could ever change. That's why they're so weird. You know, like we talked about it with Rhett Lashley and people who want Rhett Lashley. I don't blame anybody for saying, oh, I would like to have Rhett Lashley. It's not like this is a terrible hire, but you know, if they struggle and they go 5-7 this year or something like that, it's going to change everyone's mind at the end of the year. Like, man, we don't want Rhett Lashley. So there's just a lot of moving parts to it. But I was kind of the way with Summerall to me is the guy that I would right now that I would like to have. But I wouldn't be against Kenny. I wouldn't be against a lot of these. It's just a matter of, you know, what you look at. And, you know, what the way you put it, Curtis, is kind of the way I feel, which sounds weird, but it's like, I want an OCD coach. I want a control freak. I want a weirdo. I want a guy that's because these coaches have to be wired differently. Like they have to be wired. Doesn't mean they have to showcase it and just, you know, lose their minds on the sidelines and have conniption fits. But it's like you want somebody that's just obsessed with control, obsessed with organization, obsessed with details, obsessed with all those things, because that to me usually is what makes the best type of coaches. And, you know, so many times I think when a coach gets fired or you move on from a coach, they're like, we got to go completely opposite from what the previous guy was, completely opposite. It's like, yeah, there are some things you want to change from that, but I don't think it's as simple as we need to go completely opposite from this. And that's how it's going to work. It's like, you know, Muss and Cows is an example of like, I think those guys are very different from each other and how they're, you know, their behavior, their personality and all that, but they're both successful in their own right. It's like, there's different ways to do it, but you just have to have those little things in your mind that are a little different. And that just makes you great at being that obsessive person of the smallest details in organization where we won't understand it, but it works out for them. So whoever that coach is, that's the type of crazy weirdo that I want.
You know, I think it's funny when you look at the resume of all these guys, and we all look at things on resumes and we say, oh, we like this, and oh, well, we don't like this stint. I mean, even someone like Bobby Petrino, there's things on his resume you could point to and say, oh, that's awesome. And then you could point to some things and say, it's not great. But ultimately, the question we need to be asking for any coach is, what are they doing or what have they done in the past, and how would that translate to Arkansas? Like, could you see them doing something similar at Arkansas? And that's why when we talk about some of these splashy names like a Dabo, I look at what he did at Clemson, the good, and I say, I don't think that's something he could replicate at Arkansas. And I look at what's going wrong for him now, and I say, that's something I could see going wrong for him at Arkansas. You mentioned Summerall, John. There's a very detail-oriented approach. And so you look at what he's doing at Tulane, what he did at Troy, and you say, could he do something like that at Arkansas? And I see no reason why not. You know what I mean? Obviously, it's going to be different competition, but at least the premise of what he's doing as a program builder, Curtis, Kenny Dillingham. You want to talk about a guy what Kenny Dillingham is doing works anywhere.
Yeah, it's a grand slam.
In the program, doing everything he can to raise as much money as possible, motivating the players, holding them accountable, being a little bit of a psycho. All of that plays no matter where you're at. And that's why, you know, I mentioned G.J. Kinney just a minute ago. I look at him and I don't know the answer to the question. And I'm just intrigued, though. I mean, he goes to a place at Texas State that is 2-10, 4-8 every year. So you want to talk about going into a circumstance that is not ideal and making the most of it. That is what G.J. Kinney has done. And I wonder, Could he do that at Arkansas? Would he be behind the 8 ball at Arkansas? Could you make a case of, well, he would be closer to being ahead of the 8 ball than behind the 8 ball as he was at Texas State, where he's gone 8-5 the last couple of years. And what does that look like? It's a little bit more of a question mark with such a small resume. But that's the big question I have is like, what are these guys doing right now? And how would that translate to Arkansas? And I think that question's easier for some of these guys than other guys.
I'll tell you what's part of our Alumni Hall question of the day presented by Alumni Hall. Go to insidearkansas.com/alumni hall and use that promo code HOGSBY20 for 20% off your purchase. I asked just these, and I probably should have worded one of these better because it's just getting destroyed in the voting because I think it has a negative connotation to it. But it was just, what type of coach would you be most excited about for Razorback football to hire? A young up-and-comer, an established Power 4 coach, a big splash name, or a retread successful coach? But they shouldn't have used retread. Retread always got negative things. So I maybe should have said like a Petrino or whatever, because that got 0.4%. But guys, this is not surprising at all. Get this. Big splash name is at 39.5%. Established Power 4 coach is at 32.5%. And young and up and coming coach is at 28.5%. Wow. So, I mean, it's pretty even as far, but that's kind of the point I wanted to make is like, everyone's got a name, but it's like the type of coach. It's like, you have a name, but why that name? Well, it's because he fits the type of coach that you want. And so it's just funny to me to see all that where, listen, like we talked about it. If you hired a young up and comer, there's coaches out there, young and up and coming, that'd be all for. If you hire an established Power 4 coach, there's coaches out there that'd be all for. Same with the big splash name. I'd be all for it. But it's just a matter of sometimes you take risks, sometimes you roll the dice, sometimes coaches work out, sometimes they don't. But I think everybody kind of has their own idea of the type of coach that they feel like would fit for their favorite football program right now.
Yeah. And you talk about earlier about kind of going, schools will often go the opposite of what they just fired or what they just lost or whatever. And that's not hard to do with Sam Pittman, because Sam Pittman didn't really fit any of that criteria.
Right.
He wasn't a young up and comer. He wasn't established. You know what I mean? He was just there. And like, there were a lot of, had the reputation at least of a phenomenal recruiter and, an ace offensive line coach and all that. He'd been there before and everything, but he was a little bit different. And obviously Arkansas was in a much different situation at the time. So you don't have to do that. Like, from going from Eric Musselman to John Calipari, for example, for basketball, both very big personalities, but also very, very different in the way that they approach things. So I don't know if that's like an opposite effect or not, but it's certainly a different type of guy. And yeah, so it's, I don't know what I would have predicted that poll to be, John, before you write it out there. But now that you've laid it out, I'm like, it actually kind of makes sense that the fan base, not divided, but that everybody's got kind of their own taste. And I think at the end of the day, you could go a number of different routes and nobody's going to look at it and go, yeah, but didn't we just do that? Yeah, isn't that pretty close to what we just had? I don't know about that. Nah, man, it's going to be different no matter what they do.
Well, one thing we've learned is that we can talk ourselves into literally anything. And so everyone who answered that poll the way they answered it, you ask them in 2 weeks, they might have a completely different opinion because they have a completely different guy in mind. One thing I think it's important to consider is there's so many variables that go into hiring a coach and going into whether or not that coach is going to have success. And I think regardless of who you're hiring, there's just so much that we don't know. And so it's really hard to have this conversation of like, well, which coach would you prefer? Well, what is the rest of the coaching staff going to look like? Well, how are they going to recruit at Arkansas? How much money are they going to have behind them? These are questions we don't know. And so if I can make the case for the big splash thing to lead the poll, I think the big splash and why that's so appealing is because it kind of cuts out some of those other variables. Like if John Gruden got hired, you wouldn't have to wonder if Arkansas would compete in the NIL space. You wouldn't have to wonder if they would be able to get a pretty good transfer class. You wouldn't have to wonder if this would generate some public, national, praise and national, at least attention. And so I think that's part of why, like, as a big splash, that's the easiest. When I say we can talk ourselves into anything, it's a lot easier to do that when you have a bunch of nerds and journalists writing stories about you and, commenting on everything about your program. It's very easy to talk yourself into that being easy. And then, then you don't even worry as much about the other variables.
Well, and also too, like I think back to when Pitman was hired, because you're right, Andrew, like there's things that you can convince yourself of why something's going to be good. But my thing was about Pitman when he got hired is like, it was something that I was like, okay, well, he was a great offensive line coach, well-respected in the coaching circles, like all these things. But to me, it was like, but it has to come down to his staff. It has to come down to his staff because he's never been head coach before. So if he gets a good staff, I'll feel good about it. Well, then he walks in and his coordinators were Barry Odom and Kendall Briles, which I'm like, okay, that's great. Like you didn't go for Jim Chaney. You didn't you went and you didn't let your ego get in the way of like, oh, I can do this, or you went and hired bona fide, really great coordinators. And when the thing with Bielema happened, Bielema is the established coach. I don't know if there's ever been a coach more established, maybe outside of John Calipari, that Arkansas's hired that had a better resume than Brett Bielema. I mean, that's the thing, is at the time he had an incredible resume and he was a big name. I'll never forget where I was, these random things. I was at Mexico Viejo over here on MLK eating with a buddy, and Scott Van Pelt's talking about like Brett Bielema's being hired. I was like, I beg your pardon? Like Brett Bielema from Wisconsin? That guy's like, because I was thinking the type of coach they were going for, and I would have never dreamed it'd be a Power 5, 3 straight Big Ten title coach. Like, you just never thought about it that way. So, but that's the whole way of like you when you know a name or you get narrowed down to a few names, you start saying, well, I'm convinced and I'm all in, or I will be convinced if A, B, and C happens. Of course, winning is going to be about it, but it's a matter of when they come in the press conference, what do they say? Do they call the Hogs with authority? They do that. That's important. It's you start to try to check the boxes here for a coach and making sure that they're doing all the important things, like, calling the Hogs and not having a Dana Altman moment.
Please, no Dana Altman moments, man. We've had that one for the century.
Yeah.
Hey, dude, I'm just cracking up because I've gotten multiple texts today, and I see a lot of chats that are like, please don't tell me this with so-and-so is real. Please don't tell me that this. And it's like, guys, I can confirm for you, if you are being told that someone is about to be hired, the University of Arkansas, I can confirm for you, they are not about to be hired. Like, you're okay. Today, you are not about to get a game-changing announcement, but it is just crazy how, like, that's all I see in the chat and all I see on my text messages is, please don't tell me this guy's getting hired. It's like, well, he's not. Trust me. Like, we're good.
Yeah. I mean, people, that's the thing. It's like, how many days has it been? You read it out, Andrew. 3.5?
Like maybe 4.
4 days. 4 days. Even if this was at the end of the season after the year was over and they fired a coach, 4 days is still a ridiculous, like, short period of time to try to make this happen. But this is where you got to navigate it. It's the most unique coaching search that you'll ever be a part of because of how long it's going to be till the end of the year and the amount of names are going to get thrown around. And the Bobby Petrino angle is just really throwing everything in a loop because, guys, we all knew Barry Lundy Jr. was not going to be the head coach after being the interim. Like, we knew that. We knew he wasn't going to be. We knew John L. Smith was not going to be the permanent head coach. We knew that. I think everybody back in the day with Joe Kynes, I think was his name, after Jack Crow got fired, they knew Joe Kynes was not going to be the permanent guy. This is the first time we're suddenly like, I mean, this guy he could end up being the permanent guy. So that's another wrench into this. All this is the Bobby Petrino thing. It's like, it's got its positives, but it's got its negatives when it comes to the search. Because I think it'd be so much easier if everyone's like, well, we know for sure that guy's not going to be the head coach, so we can just focus on this other thing. But it's like, there's always that Petrino thing's kind of pulling you back a little bit. Be like, well, I like these. Well, what if Petrino though? What if he wins 4 games? It's like, there's always this thing kind of pulling you back. And that's what makes this thing so complicated, but so much fun to dive into.
Yeah, man. And we talk about how much success does Bobby need to have to get the interim tag removed, or, what can he do to win over Hunter Yurachek or the committee, whoever's making this decision, everything. But also don't underestimate Bobby Petrino's ability to pull strings behind the scenes to position himself to get this job. He is in the pole position, right? Like say what you want about his chances there, but the fact that he's already in here, the connections that he already has throughout the course of the state, that dude is in position behind the scenes to make a lot of power plays to strengthen his stranglehold on this job. So yeah, this is going to be absolutely fascinating to see it all play out, because there's a lot going on behind the scenes, I'm sure already, where he's trying to do things that have nothing to do with his football team right now to get himself in position for the job. Hell, he was trying to do that before Sam Pittman even got let go, we were told. So he's a puppet master. Is that what they called him?
Mm-hmm.
Was it Dilfer that called him that last year? It's like, oh, he's like a puppet master when he calls his offense or something.
He did say that, didn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah. When it is also funny how, how it is when a football team loses, everybody starts doing a thing where they're, all right, on to basketball. We're going to watch that happen multiple times where people are like, Bobby. And then they lose on Saturday and they're like, all right, so Ryan Day. So, it's like, and then it's going to just go back and forth. And then they win a game. Yeah. Wait a minute. Forget about John Summerall. Bobby. It's like we're going to go back and forth of people jumping in and out of this thing, and it's going to be a fun roller coaster.
You know what? I couldn't get over the fact that I was real impressed with Mike Elko when they beat the hell out of Arkansas the other day. So what about him? Is he on the table? It's going to be crazy.
Oh yeah. Let me ask you guys something real quick, because I know we got the prime time at the Palace, of course, which is gonna be awesome on Friday night. Tomorrow night, tomorrow night. Does Bobby come out there? Bobby come out there and get an ovation? I think you have to.
What else is he doing this weekend?
Yeah,
Bikes, blues, and barbecue.
Man,
is that this weekend too?
Yeah. See, that would be something. I don't know. I think you have to roll him out there, just for the sake of, hey, you got to do that. You got to do that. He's got to go out there, call the Hogs with everybody, because he's going to be politicking. I bet you this will be the first time it's his idea that he wants to do this. He's like, no, let me go out there so I can call the Hogs and show them I'm the coach. I'm the head coach. I want the job.
100%, man. And Cal's trying to make this an event. He talked a lot about just the entertainment aspect of this and trying to drum up a bunch of excitement was the main reason they're doing this yesterday. And man, bring Bobby out there. There's going to be a ton of students there. Those kids don't remember what happened back in the day, so they would be all for it. He'd get the big hog call and everything. Do it. Hogs Plus, it's a perfect moment for you to get some good content for your socials.
All right, I'm going to be dramatic here for a second. Are y'all ready?
Yeah.
This is Bobby's first big test as he's interviewing for the job, as he's trying to audition. Show that you care. Show that you're locked in on this thing. Show up there and be ready to, give a speech. Be ready to be in a room with a bunch of important people. Be ready to try and ignite the fan base. Like you need to rally support. You need to go full politician here, BP.
Yep. You need to have it happen. And also too, I'll throw it out there. It's not going to matter, but I'm wondering, what if he did the small little things that won't matter? What if he just changed the uniforms when, something they did, they debuted the 2010 uniforms. Those came back, for Bobby throwbacks, and everyone's yeah, it's just the stupid small things that don't matter, but everyone will be like, oh, heck yeah, man. Or they got the hatchets, the hammers on the back of the helmets, the stickers.
Oh yeah.
They bring back, yeah. It's the small little nostalgia bait, man. It's Ellis, it's like you put R2-D2 in a random Star Wars show and everyone's like, yeah. It's just
beam pointing.
Yeah, it's like everyone's just happy. And even though it means absolutely nothing, but it makes
I remember when he got hired back as OC and him and Sam Pitman were at the basketball game. Remember that? They put the camera on him. Everybody's like, whoa. That was a big moment. I'm all in, Andrew, on the politicking aspect of this. If he wants to shake hands and kiss babies, I'll give him both Friday. I'll help him out. I'll support
bringing the baby.
I will if Bobby Petrino wants to give him a kiss on the forehead.
I thought that was some news here. I'm like, wait a minute.
Oh,
dude, they kick us out. That little man's crazy.
Man, yeah, I'm hoping. I don't know. I'm hoping Bobby's there, and I don't know. It's just I want more of that content almost. The more Bobby content, the better. That SEC teleconference may have been the one that I have actually looked forward to the most, and it meant nothing really, but it's just I need Bobby content. That would be some great Bobby content. Him and Cal dapping it up, shaking hands. It's like, man, what? Excuse me, this is weird, but we'll take it. We'll continue to get our discussions. I know we'll have some of your chats and everything, folks, but want to remind everybody that, of course, here at Inside Arkansas, we have an official real estate expert, and it is Gracie Frizzell of Collier and Associates right here in Northwest Arkansas, but she's officially licensed in both Arkansas and in Oklahoma. She's here to take care of all your real estate needs, whether you're looking for an investment property, a game day getaway to have when you're coming up here for football, basketball, and baseball games in Northwest Arkansas. Maybe you're looking for some land investment or even a new home. She is your trusted guide from start to finish. You can give her a call or a text today at 501-690-3868. That's 501-690-3868 for any questions regarding all things real estate. Or you can check her out on Instagram at Gracie Frizz. It's Gracie Frizzell of Collier and Associates, the official real estate expert of Inside Arkansas. All right, guys, thinking about those elements, and I wanted to revisit the politicking thing that you were talking about, Andrew, because that to me may have been, there's a few things, but that may have been one of Sam Pittman's biggest problems, just being honest, is his ability to politic in the right and correct ways. I told you guys Cal, and you know this, but it's when I went to that fantasy basketball camp and I see Cal just dapping it up with Doug McMillon, the CEO of Walmart. It's Like that's just something you can't overstate the importance of. And I feel like that was something that Pitman missed. He just wanted to be a football coach, which is fine. But in this state, and especially if you're not getting some of the support that you really need to have, or you try to get, you need to be a little bit of a politician. Few times can a coach just walk in and be like, well, because of who I am, you're just going to give me money. Because if anybody was going to do that, that's Cal. Cal could have just walked in and be like, I'm Calipari, so give me money. But it's like, Cal's still going out here and politicking because that's what you got to do. You got to shake hands and kiss babies. You got to make sure to be like, oh, you're a Stitch, Marty. We got to get you on the Anderson account. You know, they got to do all these dumb things that it doesn't matter. So I'm also curious too, where if you can be that type of coach in Arkansas and really buy into it, really feel it. Because it's one thing for Pitman when he was saying, I love the Hogs, I'm all Arkansas. Great. But you got to invest in it also with the people and with the big names and the big dudes and the dogs that can really help you out. So that's another element too that I feel like people are going to be like, I don't want a politician. I want a football coach. Yeah. But you got to be a little bit of both in order to be successful at a place like Arkansas.
That's spot on, man. That's really true. And I think part of what endeared people to Sam Pitman right away is that he was that kind of guy for the common man, for the fan, relatable and everything like that. But yeah, if you think about it, you put him in the room with a bunch of Fortune 500 CEOs and everything like that. Does it jive? I don't know. I'd have to see them together. I'm sure Sam Pitman did his fair share of politicking out at Oakland. I know he loved going out there, but that's what you talked about. You got to be a little bit of both, John. That's why I feel like John Calipari has wound up being such a great hire, because he does. I mean, you see him. I'll never forget being out there during a baseball postseason and Cal walking around Baum Walker, and the dude probably took 1,000 pictures and signed 1,000 more autographs. And he's just like a man of the people out there with the common folk, and that's really cool because he's kind of a larger than life figure. And then you mentioned what you just said about, let's get the Walmart CEO out to basketball practice. All right, we've got this guy, that guy. You put him in a room with anybody and he can be relatable, down to earth, and fit. It looks like he belongs in that particular room. So I'm not saying you got to find the John Calipari of college football to bring in here, but somebody who has that type of personality, to your point, I think that's a really good call.
I would also argue that Pitman early in his tenure was better about that. Like
100%.
He was at more things. I remember him doing this whole thing where they were doing off-season workouts. It was in spring practice, and he was giving a speech to the team about the women's game when they had beaten UConn the night before or whatever with Chelsea Dungy and them. And he was like, you could tell how much they wanted to be out there. You could tell how much they loved the logo, how much they knew they wanted to win and all that. And I remember thinking that was cool, and that was a lot of what endeared us to him. And then it just seems like the last 3 or 4 years he just stopped doing all that. Because at one point, him and DVH were boys, and then I don't know if they had a falling out. I'm sure they didn't, but he hasn't acknowledged the baseball program in a while, which again I don't really actually care that much about. But he definitely used to make more of an effort there. And honestly, man, in terms of the conversation of do you want a politician or a coach, and you kind of have to be both. It's one thing if you for instance, if Bobby Petrino doesn't go to the thing tomorrow, we will immediately, what we'll say? Well, he was game planning for Tennessee.
Totally.
He was working on scheme. He was working on his thing, because that's what Bobby Petrino's thing is. He's a scheme guru. He's a psycho. If Eric Musselman, who was at everything, by the way, if he were not at a thing, we would say, oh, well, he must be in California hanging out with, all these celebrities. And, he must be at this MLB park because he has his thing where we don't have to wonder what he's doing. But Pitman is not a scheme guy. He is not he's not a players coach. I guess that would probably be his thing, is he'd be a players coach. He's not a politician. He's not out in the community. He's not known for going and doing a lot of things. If he's known for doing anything, it's Hot Springs. And so it's that would be, and so it's you just have to have a thing. And I think there's an episode of How I Met Your Mother where everyone in their office has there's a fantasy guy, there's a breakfast guy, there's a sandwich guy, there's a guy that has a thing, and Pitman just ran out of things. Because if you're not calling the offense, you're not calling the defense, you're not showing up and stuff, it's then we have to kind of wonder.
Well, and also too, you think about, I'm using the CEOs as an example, but say if you got the CEO of Walmart, Tyson J.B. Hunt, and they're all very, very wealthy, very powerful people, and they're in a room, and in walks in, I'm using his as an example too, John Calipari. There is no doubt that as big as dogs as those CEOs are and as much money they have and all that, Cal can walk in and suddenly be still the biggest name in the room and the biggest deal and the biggest personality. You know, you always hear about once you walk into the room, and those types of people that are that successful, that personality, they're not, I'm not saying they're jerks, because they're not, at least from my understanding, but it's like they just have so much aura and power around them that usually people in that same type of aura come together and they click immediately because they understand it's not this thing of like starstruck. Oh my gosh, is that Doug McMillan? My goodness. Like, what, you know, you don't have that. It's just, you have the personalities and the confidence and the arrogance of them all. And that's the type of thing that you need in a coach who's going to do that. You need a coach that walks in there and be like, hey, what's up, Doug? What's up, Dougie D? You know, just not getting to the point to where you feel intimidated by stuff like that. You feel like I'm part of this because I'm a big deal. I'm this guy. I know what I'm doing. And, you know, even though Cal may not be the best example because that guy is still worth more than the Tyson and JB Hunt CEO combined as far as money goes. He's not worth more than Doug McMillan. So we not anywhere close, but still, you want a coach that's just not intimidated about those positions, those scenarios where, yeah, these people have nothing in common as far as football coaching, but we got a lot in common because we're all in control of our huge organizations that are very much large when it comes to personnel, comes to how the success goes and all of those things. So yeah, I want to see more of that.
Muss was always cool about that, of being like, I can learn from any of these guys. I can learn from an NFL GM. I can learn from a baseball scout. I can learn from this CEO of this company. And I'm sure that was a little bit BS, but he always made sure to do stuff like that. And I always thought that was interesting, honestly.
It's interesting to me that you used the word intimidating a couple times there, John. I was listening to Brandon Marcelo, interestingly enough, on his podcast last night. I don't know when it went out, but I was listening to it last night and was talking about kind of the end of the Sam Pitman tenure, and intimidated was a word that was used there to kind of describe maybe his demeanor, how it shifted over the course of the last couple of years. Because a lot of people will point to, boy, after he, you know, dumped his local agent and got on with Jimmy Sexton, everything changed. And there might be something to that, man. But the word intimidated was used down the stretch of his tenure in terms of all of a sudden everybody's coming and poaching his good players, and he's having a hard time drumming up more, you know, money and support. And all of a sudden here's Bobby Petrino here. And yeah, that hire kind of saved my job for a minute, but I'm not an idiot. And so, you know, we're trying to make a game plan here, and I got this guy. That's a very interesting choice of words. And I hadn't really thought about it from that standpoint, but then I heard him say it yesterday and I heard you say it now. And I'm like, you know, might have actually been something to that.
It's a shark in the water mentality. It's like, you know, it's these people who they'll eat you alive. And, you know, they think that they're not your friend. Like, they're not your friend. They're competitors. And if you show the case that you're, and I hate using these terms because it sounds so mean, but it's like, if you're weak-minded to where you're just like, oh man, like, why are you doing this to me? I thought we were friends. It's like, we're not. This is bigger than this. Sorry, like we're not friends. I'm here to steal your soul. I'll smile and say, hey, you're a great coach. I'll respect you. I'll even, you know, buy you a beer, but I'm not your friend. I'm here to murder you. Like, I mean, that's kind of how the vibe. It's like the Michael Jordan mentality when he'd hang out with all those players that he played against. He's like, oh man, we love golfing with MJ and all that stuff. And it's like coming back to it, you're like, he was scouting us. He was trying to mess with us. He was trying to get in our heads because he wanted to destroy us. It's kind of the same thing with these coaches.
Well, and it's human nature to be affected by public narrative, to be affected by the pressure of your job, to be affected by these things. Nobody believes that John Calipari is not actually part of him a little bit upset when people talk bad about him, when people criticize him nationally. I'm sure it does upset him, but he just publicly never lets that affect what he does, how he goes about his business. He would never admit to that. And then again, it almost fuels him. It doesn't detract from him doing his job. It fuels him to do his job better. And I think that's what all these guys in these prominent leadership positions have that in common, is that they almost use that in a good way. All the greats used to, I mean, we could do the Michael Jordan thing, but yeah, they used to use that in a good way. And I'm not saying that Sam Pittman didn't, but he clearly did let it affect the way he handled business, the way he interacted with his coaches, the way he interacted with the state, with the fan base, the way he interacted with the media. And I think that was a little bit of a red flag.
Well, real quick, because I know nobody's going to care, and I'm sorry to keep referencing it, but it reminded me of that when I was at the Cal basketball fantasy camp. There was the best player out there. Like, you could tell, you know, who the best player was out there. His locker, when we were getting ready, was next to mine. We were just making small talk, really nice guy and everything. And he was asking me, hey, is this your first time at camp? I was like, yeah, I've never been into this before. And all this stuff. And then he's like, hey, I try to play basketball every so often when I can. I was like, man, I haven't played in forever. Like, it's been a long time. So we're just small talk. We get out there on the court. He's on the opposite team. Guess who he decides to guard? Me. You know why? Because I told him this was my first time at this camp. I told him that I haven't played basketball in forever. And he's like, I'm going to destroy this kid. And I held my own. But still, I'm like, I was like, that's brilliant. That was brilliant. I wasn't even mad. I was like, that's good stuff. So sometimes, you do those things like that. But we'll have some more of your chats. We'll get to that. Again, Brandon Marcelo joining us in about half an hour here. But I want to remind everybody, Hickey and Hole Law, the official law firm of us here at Inside Arkansas, they are the ones to go to when it comes to all of your legal advice. When it's divorce, custody cases, criminal cases, civil litigation cases, personal injury cases, estate planning, all of those things. There's no better group. There is no better people to deal and work with than Hickey and Hole Law here in the state of Arkansas. They have offices in Fayetteville, Fort Smith, Little Rock, and Mena, and they're going to take care of you every single step of the way and make sure you're protected and make sure you're represented the best way possible. So give them a call today at 479-434-2414. That's 479-434-2414. You can also check out their website at hickeyandhole.com. You can scan that QR code right there on your screen as well. It's Hickey and Hole Law. Things are about to get better. I'm really not upset, and I'm sorry if I'm stealing this from you guys, but I saved the picture. Someone apparently already put the picture down in there in our studio, so I just wanted to bring it up.
Oh, yeah.
But Bobby Petrino, baby. Razorbacks just posted this up. You know what? Whoever took this picture, I don't know who took the picture. I don't know who posted on. It doesn't matter. That face is exactly what Razorback fans wanted to see.
Yeah.
That not him just sitting there with the sunglasses on walking. Nope. That one. That's what they wanted to see.
Come on, Xavier, get your feet out of quicksand, damn it.
You forgot a few expletives in there, Curtis, but don't say it.
It's just funny in real time watching our boy John become radicalized in the BP movement.
Watching propaganda, man.
You
see it. He's like, no, this Emperor Palpatine guy, he's awesome. No, he's cool, man. Guys, trust me.
Yeah. Dude, I'll admit it. It's because, again, like I said, it will all come crashing down when the team starts sucking. Like, trust me, it will. But it's like right now, I feel you feel like remember what was you could probably say it better than me, Andrew, but like when Andy Bernard says, you wish you could know when you're in the good days before you leave them or whatever.
Yeah, the good old days.
Yeah, it's kind of how I feel right now, where I feel like I'm back in the good old days again, because Bobby Petrino's the head coach of Arkansas. And the last time I saw Bobby Petrino, the head coach of Arkansas, he beat the crap out of Kansas State in the Cotton Bowl and was number 5 in the country, went 11-2. Even though I know a lot has transpired, I know a lot has changed, but it's like that was my last. So it's almost like I feel like last week Arkansas beat Kansas State in the Cotton Bowl and they're number 5 in the country, because it's like you stop the movie before the ending, and then 14 years later you hit and play again. And you're watching the movie again, and you can't wait to see how it ends, and you just expect it to be great. That's how I feel right now. Is I just feel it's like the Game of Thrones when you had to wait 2 years for the next season to come out, and the season sucked. That's probably how this is going to be. I waited a long time to see how it ends, and it's probably going to end badly, but I'm excited to see it no matter what.
This is really like a movie sequel. That is a great analogy, because it's like, I mean, by the way, like Happy Gilmore, we just saw that and it was not as successful, but it's like, it's the same character. He's doing the same bits, but is it really the same? Hopefully, for your sake, John, this is like Anchorman 2, where you're kind of going in trepidatious and you're like, there's no way it'll be as good as the first one. And maybe it's not quite as good, but it's like, this is an adequate sequel.
I need Top Gun Maverick. This is what I need for this.
Yeah.
Well, that's setting the bar pretty high.
I know. That's what I want. That's ain't no happen, but that's what I want. Because again, guys, you won't want to be around me if Arkansas beats Tennessee next Saturday. Like you talk about full turn. I will go full dark side. I will be like Anakin killing younglings in the whatever they call that, Jedi Temple. Like I'll just be on another level. Be like, hey, listen, guys, Bobby's here. We could actually realistically go to a playoff. Like that's how exactly my mind's gonna work.
Dude,
man.
If they beat Tennessee, Dan Wolken is getting tweeted at. I'm just telling you right now, like 1,000% he's getting tweeted at. I will give you some credit though, John, because you're not just one of those guys, because we've seen a lot of people who have maybe seen the writing on the wall and see that BP's a candidate are now talking themselves into Bobby Petrino, which of course we've all already done before. Even before Bobby was even the OC, I remember having conversations with John like 3-4 years ago and him firmly being like, dude, I really like BP was the only happiness I ever felt. And if that whole thing hadn't happened, he would have just kept on going successful. And we argued about it back and forth, but like, I know you felt this way for so long. And so that's why I feel good for you that like, you're at least getting this moment. And then of course, you know, when it's over, we'll turn the lights off and we'll go home, but we're going to party until then.
Regardless of the outcome of these games too, this is beautiful stuff, because the best part about all this is Bobby Petrino is now out of the press box, back on the sidelines, and the cameras are going to be on him at all times. So we get all of that reaction, man. It's going to be a beautiful thing. You know how that man is on the sideline. It's going to be electric.
He's the captain now.
I mean,
he's the captain now.
Dude, yeah, all it's going to take is him ripping one of the officials out there on camera. It's just like, those are the iconic images that I remember. And it's like, you know, that one picture we just put up. That's so stupid. That guy, why should that make me excited to see him screaming at probably the water boy for not getting out there in time? Like, I mean, why should I? But it just does. It makes me feel so good. And I know it's going to come crashing down. I know I keep making the analogies, but it's literally, to me, like Game of Thrones. It's like, imagine if Curtis started watching Game of Thrones and he's heard and he knows that the ending sucks, but it's like, no, it sucks, but I got to see it till the end. Like, that's how I feel about it. It's like, I know everyone's told me it's going to be bad. I have a feeling it's going to be bad, but I got to see it to the end. I got to see how this goes.
I did that with The Sopranos like a year or two ago, and I'll probably wind up watching that whole thing again, just like we're watching this all again now. So
I will say, Curtis, for the winter, you have to watch Game of Thrones though, because that's like that's the vibe of like fall, November, to get that winter feel, that little violin playing. You'll be cozy this fall.
Okay.
Oh yeah, you will be. Before we'll get to your chats, folks. Again, we'll have our heavy hitters and Brandon Marcelo joining us here in a bit too. But want to remind everybody that if you're looking for insurance, you need to do it with OZK Insurance. They're the best in the business. They're up there in Rogers, but they make insurance so simple for you. They're 100% independent agency, and they shop the entire marketplace to deliver the best combination of cost as well as coverage, saving you both time and money, which is, last time I checked, incredible things to save that we all wish we could save. Whether it's home, auto, boat, motorcycle, life insurance, or commercial insurance, their friendly team has access to a wide range of flexible options designed just for you. They serve Northwest Arkansas as well as Central Arkansas, including Bentonville, Centerton, Fayetteville, Little Rock, Hot Springs, Springdale, and beyond. Let OZK Insurance be the trusted advisor you never knew you needed. So start today with a free online quote at ozkinsurance.com. That's ozkinsurance.com. Or you can call 479-715-4200. It's OZK Insurance, protection made simple. All right, so getting into your chats here on the show, I immediately want to start. Well, we got to start with Super Chats. That's the rule. Super Chats always get read first. The Urban Christian Institute with MJ Jackson. All right. Thank you for the Super Chat. It says, what are your guys' thoughts on Ed Orgeron's interest in returning to coaching and possibly taking the Arkansas job? I'm all for Coach O returning to coaching. I would all be for him at Arkansas, just not as the head coach.
Yeah, not head ball coach.
I would even go as far as to say not even as the DC. I've seen a lot of people saying that. Like, most of his position coaching days have been like D-line, strength coach type thing. Like, I don't even know if I want him, but I like to have him in the locker room to throw chairs and to give speeches and stuff. But no, yeah, definitely not as the head coach.
If the pathway to getting him here was DC, I'd sign on for it.
This year I would. This year,
could it get any worse than it has been? I hope not. So sure,
well,
I'm all
this
for
year
the entertainment value.
The alternative is kind of not having a DC. I mean, no disrespect, but I'm just saying, like,
exactly.
Yeah, I think if Ed O was the D-line coach, I'd be fine for it. And yeah, if he was DC, because to me, it's about the recruiting. Like, the defensive coordinator and being a great defensive coach is like, you just got to have dudes and have players. It's plain and simple as that.
You guys got to understand also who you're asking these questions to. I mean, we cover the teams and we think we do a good job of breaking things down and giving some real analysis and everything like that. But we're also in the entertainment business, man. So that kind of stuff, when people talk about John Gruden or Ed O or anybody like that, we're like, hell yeah, brother. We want that.
Obviously, we're objective. And like, if any of those guys came to Arkansas, we would cover them objectively. But speaking from that standpoint, I have family members that text me and they're like, there's no way John Gruden. And I'm like, if you want me to publicly say no to that, I'm not going to.
Yeah. Well, it's just, I like to think of the scenarios of, say, if Ed Orgeron came in for the rest of the year as an interim, it's like imagining a conversation between Bobby Petrino and Ed Orgeron is a very funny thing to me. Like, that's a very entertaining thing with just the Yeah, coach, welcome in. What do you think about everything? How's it going? And good to be here, Coach. Coach Petrino, I got to go play ball.
Dude, if Hogs Plus didn't get in there for at least one meeting, that'd be such a missed opportunity.
Could you imagine what the subtitles would look like? Good grief.
Head coach John Gruden, OC Bobby Petrino, DC Ed O.
I'm in.
I mean, listen.
Who says no?
Yeah. Warren Sapp, your defensive line coach. Sure. You know, he's him and Gruden are boys. You know,
Curtis, you asked who says no. We do need to implement a firm no means no policy, though.
Yeah, we do. Yeah, we absolutely do.
No, you need to spend half your salary on the HR department over there. Like I'm just saying. Let's see. Okay, Hayden says John talking about BP like BBN does Pope. Shut up, Hayden.
Wow, that's actually a pretty good one.
Yeah, like listen, we're not to that point yet. All right, I'm not sitting here and saying like Bobby Petrino gets Arkansas. Like, oh man, he just gets it. He might a little bit. I'm just wanting to see him getting mad at people, because as long as he's not mad at me, he's one of those guys. I love it when he's mad, as long as it's not at me. So yeah. Also too. Oh yeah, I meant to tell you guys. So Bobby refollowed me on Twitter. He unfollowed me and he blocked me and then he unblocked me and now he's refollowed me. Should I look too much into that?
Yes, you should.
Well, when did he refollow you?
Like yesterday.
That's huge.
I'm sure one of your tweets about him got like circulated to him and he was like, oh man, I'm not following this guy. I wonder if he like vividly remembers blocking you. Because when you block someone and then unblock them, it doesn't automatically refollow them.
Right.
And so maybe when he unblocked you, he just assumed that like, oh yeah.
Of course, I don't know who's in charge of his Twitter account. He may have some other people like doing that. I don't know. But I was just sitting there. I'm like, because when I saw it, I got nervous. I was like, what if I get a DM and it's like, hey, call me. And I'm like, I don't want to. I'm scared.
Oh God, I would love that DM. In fact, I'm going to unfollow Bobby right now. There we go. And I'm going to follow him back. And if you're watching, Coach, don't leave me hanging here. Okay.
Times if we need to unfollow you again.
Yeah.
I'm going to unfollow and we'll follow Coach B Petrino.
I hope that we just did this bit and I get on there later and I am blocked.
He just blocked both of us.
Yeah. No, that would be great. Also, shout out to the Urban Christian Institute with MJ Jackson also becoming a member. So we appreciate it.
The UCI MJ.
Hell yeah.
Right. That's right. Let's see. Also, Paddlefish says, would you trust Bobby to babysit Wesley?
Paddlefish,
a lot of grandkids.
I'm not entirely sure I trust myself to babysit Wesley after last night, man. So sure, he's done this before. Why not? He might be a baby whisperer for all I know.
Oh man. Okay, I wanted to say this. Trace brought up Mark May on the buzz, threw a name out there. I haven't heard much. Jimbo Fisher said I'm done. No,
let's cut it off right there.
Read it.
A name you haven't heard much. Jimbo Fisher. How do those things go in the same sentence?
Jimbo Fisher said could get him cheaper because A&M is paying him close to $7 million a year, and that's even if he gets a new coaching job. Like
you guys would not sign off for Texas A&M paying for our football coach?
No, I wouldn't. Like it's one of the things. It's like, okay, he didn't win at A&M, but he's going to come to Arkansas and win. He had so much set up to win at A&M, and he didn't. But he's going to come to Arkansas and suddenly win. No, I just don't buy that.
He had a substantially easier job and did worse than you guys would probably accept. Because he went like 6-6, 7-5 those last few years. And maybe the best case you'd say, okay, he could maybe do that at Arkansas. And it's like, but I don't think he's a guy that's going to innovate his way to the next big thing. And for Arkansas, you need a forward-thinking, progressive-minded coach.
Yeah.
My thing, and this should be the ultimate death nail to why anybody would want Jimbo Fisher. He beat Chad Morris in 2 games by 1 possession each game. That's all he beat Chad Morris by. That right there should eliminate him from contention.
Wins the close ones, man.
Yep.
Nah, no to Jimbo. I don't know if it's the Texas A&M thing, but every time I hear his name associated with Arkansas football, I feel the same way I did when Buzz Williams was associated with Arkansas basketball during multiple searches, but especially this last one where I'm like, no, please no.
I mean, listen, every single possible case you could make for Jimbo would have to lean on his resume at FSU. And you can look at it. And by the way, he had a great tenure at FSU. Those teams were freaking loaded. One, he took over a pretty good program. And like those are some of the most talented teams we've ever seen playing in the ACC. And so it's like that's just not at all the job he would be asked to do at Arkansas.
Yeah, well, and it's also like if you want Jimbo Fisher or you think that'd be good, you might as well say Kevin Sumlin because Kevin Sumlin was better and more successful pretty much than Jimbo Fisher was at A&M. So you want Kevin Sumlin? No. Well, why would you want Jimbo Fisher? It's like, oh, he won a title at Florida State. Okay, that's the point though. It's like he won that, and I'm not taking anything away from him, but I'm like, to me, that year that he won it almost was like an Ed Orgeron type of year where the stars aligned. You played Auburn in the title game, which shouldn't have been there in the first place. You know, for the kick six. I still think Alabama would have beaten Florida State. I know it doesn't matter, but I don't know. I don't see Jimbo Fisher as a guy that, and I mean, I'm going to put him on the list of we're not even going to bring up and talk about. Like he's not. I would be pissed if Arkansas hired Jimbo Fisher. I would
put him on the slander list, John.
Yes.
We need to make a slander list of guys you have to slander.
Yes, slander people, slander these people more and more and more each and every time. So, let's see. Also, Austin from work says I've been enjoying the Sam Pittman remember when reels in my timeline. 2021 was a movie, man.
That was.
It was a great time, man. Hey, don't be sad it's over. Be happy it happened. We had some good times. We unironically had some great times with Sam Pittman.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we did.
Just leave it at that.
And also,
don't elaborate.
Also, too, is this thinking because I saw, one of these reels and all that stuff is highlights, and one of them put up there the like I can only imagine song behind him. Like, okay, we need to stop. Like, just stop.
Hey, I will say I saw a Greg Brooks reel that brought tears to my eyes. Damn near.
Yeah, was it? It may have been the same one I saw too. I don't know if it was, but which speaking of that, I saw him do an interview with somebody. I don't know how recent it was, whatever, but it seems like Greg Brooks is slowly getting better. Like it seems like he's getting more mobility. Seems like
he sat with Ryan Clark like before the season. So like in the summer,
maybe
that
that's
was like 4 or 5 months ago. And he was like talking,
yeah,
forming sentences. He was moving his hands, moving his head and stuff. And so, yeah, I don't know how much he's able to like walk and stuff, but, and I mean, like you said, he's happy to just be here, be functional, be alive, man.
Yeah. Yeah, that was because that was one of the things too that to give a shout out to Sam Pittman that like apparently Pittman was as soon as that all happened with Greg, he reached out to him. He called it'd be you think a guy that left you to go to a rival school like Greg Brooks did and everything, and of course the problems that they had with the LSU coaching staff reportedly. But that was I always thought that was really respectful of Pittman, where he really did care. He really did care about people and really his players, no matter what. So, Paddlefish, appreciate the super chat. Says if you could have any coach in the country. Any DC and OC, what would the combination be if you choose?
All right, let's go. So I would go Kirby Smart head coach, and I'm assuming we're just going to answer this seriously, right?
Yeah.
I would go Kirby Smart coaching the head coach. I would have Lane Kiffin as the OC, and I feel like his work as an OC kind of speaks for itself. DC, I think I would.
Dan Lanning.
I was going to say it had to be Lanning, right?
I think so.
That's a staff right there, man.
Not bad.
That's pretty much what Bama's staff was. They had Saban at head coach, and then like Kirby and Lane Kiffin, and then like Dan Lanning was like the assistant coach. That was literally their staff. So like our dream scenario is like what Nick Saban's 2016 staff was. Yeah.
Or his staff at LSU when it was like Jimbo Fisher, Will Muschamp, Derek Dooley, like trying to think of who else. There was like some other big name coach that was part of that staff. Either way, like, yeah, that would be good. So sure, let's do that one. Play those games all the time. Like, yeah, because what was it? Do you remember when like Dion got hired at Colorado? There was these reports like, oh, he's hiring Terrell Owens as his wide receiver coach. Like all these like former pros that are just going to come in. Like,
who did he bring in this year as an analyst? Like Bill Cowher or something like that. Like he would bring in like just random years. Like, bro, what was that guy even doing?
Yeah. No, it's crazy. It's crazy. All right, we'll have more of your chats to get to. Actually, you know what? I want to bring this one up because this was awesome from one of our Facebook watchers from Barbara. I wanted to bring this up. Yeah. This random story. My sister makes beautiful greeting cards. She sent a sympathy card to Cal when his sweet dog Palmer died. Cal and Ellen both sent her a handwritten thank you note. How impressive. I think those notes will be framed. So
very
that
cool.
is an awesome story.
That's pretty awesome.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Barbara might be the best Hog fan in the state, at least of the ones that I've met and interacted with. I feel like just in terms of just true love and admiration for the Hogs and like reaching out to the players, loving their families and stuff. I feel like Barbara's about as sets the tone, and she likes us. So
Hog of the year.
See, now you just you just caused an entire fight to happen in the chat now because people are going to be arguing who's the best Razorback fan of all time. And it's just,
listen, if you're handing us $20 bills and you're sending thank you notes to Coach Cal and you're sending greeting cards and stuff, like that's the bar. If you reach that bar, I'll prop you up too.
Well, I'll tell you what, let's go ahead and get into our heavy hitters presented by HD Roofing and Construction, because we know, again, storms will hit always at the craziest times here in the state of Arkansas, folks. And the last thing you ever want to be in a position is having a roof that is not able to handle it. But you don't look at your roof. I mean, at least I don't think so. Many of you probably just say, oh, well, it's up there and it's going to be fine. Well, it's not always going to be fine. You need to make sure the professionals understand what's going on with your roof, if it needs any sort of replacement, any sort of repair, if it's good to go. Well, let HD Roofing help you out. They're going to give you a free inspection and give you the peace of mind that you need. And if you need any sort of repair or any sort of replacement, they are going to have all that professionalism using the top quality materials, as well as having that expert installation for all of your roofing needs. So give them a call today to make sure that your roof is good to go at 501-428-0429. That's 501-428-0429. You can also check out their website at hdarkansas.com. It's HD Roofing and Construction, part of our heavy hitters here on Inside Arkansas. So, all right. So for my heavy hitter, guys, I'm going to give a shout out to old Vanderbilt. Only because of this reason, that shout out to the next round because they put out these little funny stats. But they're like the roster age breakdown of graduate, senior, junior, sophomore, freshman. You go over here to the graduate age, quite a few over there. Look at Vanderbilt. 22% of their roster, a quarter of their roster are graduates. And might be why they are pretty solid and pretty good. But I mean, listen, they're an academic school. We get it. But that's big time. I also think it's funny that Georgia doesn't even have a 1% of the graduates there because they're like, we don't do graduate transfers. Like
a lot of juniors and freshmen.
Yeah. I mean, that's really a lot of those there. But, and it was interesting to see Arkansas. It seemed pretty on par, pretty balanced for the most part as far as that went. But it's crazy, though. Yeah, like you mentioned, Tennessee and Georgia have the most freshmen of any school here in the SEC. Vanderbilt's only got 16%. That's by far the lowest amount of freshmen. But either way, I just thought it was really fascinating because you can see the breakdowns. People always like, oh, you need experienced guys. You need these. Like some good teams have variations of what type of roster is the makeup as far as experience goes. I mean, talent means a lot, duh. But anyways, I just thought it was fascinating. I just want to give a shout out to Vanderbilt because they're like, hey, we love our graduates. We love the smarts. We love the kids that already got their degrees that can still play football. And that's what we're going to do. And that's what they're going to continue to do. And that's why I really hope that they beat Alabama this weekend, which I know they won't, but I'm going to be rooting for them.
I like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Is Clark Lee going to the Sam Pitman School of being a graduate senior merchant? You remember that one year where Pitman had like 30 super seniors, and that was his best year at Arkansas. And then when they would have bad years, people would be like, "Oh, well, he just had that one year because he had all them seniors." It's like, well, why don't we just all do that? Why don't we just all only have seniors on our roster?
Would be nice, yeah. But that's my heavy hit for today.
I like it. Mine is Coach Cal, and it's going to be a frequent thing, but one, because primetime at the Palace is tomorrow. So I wanted to give a shout out to that. And we just had Barbara's, her message there. And it kind of goes to my point and some of the things that we were talking about earlier about you can put him in a room with anybody and he belongs and he can relate. And he just kind of gets it, man. And so one thing I've been thinking about, I talked about it a little bit on the pod this morning, but, last year when things got rolling, you guys remember before Arkansas started playing good basketball, how many times we were having the conversation about, man, something's not quite right here. Like what's going on with the atmosphere at Bud Walton Arena? Does it feel like there's a disconnect between like the team and the fan base or whatever? And I just appreciate the awareness and the ability to adapt by Coach Cal. All of a sudden he's posing with these QR codes everywhere. You think that man knows what a QR code is? You remember when he tried to upload his video resigning from Kentucky? And the first one was like all grainy. And it's like, nah, fam. You ask him about Twitter ads, at the press conference. He's like, what the hell is that? He has no idea.
His Loom video was still processing, guys.
Exactly, man. And so, getting hip to the times with the QR codes is cool. But I really like some of the stuff that he said yesterday. Yesterday's press conference was a masterclass in how to handle these kinds of things. He did a really good job. It's refreshing after some of the recent pressures that we've heard. But what I really liked hearing him say after thinking a lot about, man, let's get Bud Walton Arena back to where it belongs, like its rightful spot, near the top of the country. And what was he doing? He spent half of his week with the team, taking them out to fraternities and he's trying to get the student, get the students fired up, get them on board, introduce them to a team, get them familiar with those guys. That's really, really important. And he even said, yeah, like Friday, I'm going to be hitting 5 or 6 sororities. Coach Cal can be with a Fortune 500 CEO, and he belongs and he can capture a room. He'll go to a half dozen sororities on Friday and he'll be able to capture the room. There's zero doubt in my mind, but good on him for recognizing that and understanding the importance of having the student section, and your campus population being bought into what you have going on. He even went as far as to say, I work for the students. And that is not something a guy like Coach Calipari has to say. He's got however hundreds of millions of dollars worth of contracts in the NBA. He's an active Hall of Famer, all those things, but he understands the job that he's in. And I was really, really impressed by that. So got to give a shout out to Cal. Good luck at the sororities, buddy. And we'll see you tomorrow night at primetime at the Palace.
One quick thing real quick is when you bring up Cal and all that, I always I talked to some of the baseball players when Cal threw out that first pitch, they still, of all the stuff they experienced, of all the stuff that they gone through, they kept mentioning that as like, it was one of the most surreal things we've ever seen. Like just because it was just Coach Cal there. It's like, he's got that aura, man. He's just got that aura.
It was like the day after he got hired too. Like it was like literally that he got hired on like Tuesday. It was like that Thursday he was throwing out the first pitch. So it was
right down the pipes. Right down
the
pipes.
McGuire who caught the first pitch. I'll never forget that because I remember Scotty being like, "Who the hell is this guy?" And I was like, "That's a freshman pitcher. He'll end up being good." And hey, Tate McGuire's on track. But yeah, no, that's awesome. Curtis, are you expecting this will be a little bit cooler of an event than BWA Live back in the day?
I am expecting that, yes.
I'm glad that non-students can also go because I'm with you that you got to fire up the students, and there definitely was a disconnect with the students, and we need that to be, they need for the home games that Arkansas is going to have. They're going to need those student sections to go crazy. But I'm also glad that the arena is open to fans. That if you want to be a part of this, fill it up. But that was the mistake that Muss's staff made is they did it as students only. It was students and media only. So there was like a couple thousand people there, but it was very empty inside, Bud. And I hope it's not tomorrow night. My heavy hitter, we're all kind of going on the Razorback trend here a little bit. So I use my heavy hitter to try and prop up people that I feel like haven't been propped up enough. And I thought for sure that former Arkansas defensive back Cam Curl would get a huge honor from the NFL this week or somebody. He had 2 interceptions on Sunday, helped the Rams win a game. Huge performance, had a 93.9 PFF grade, like the best game of Cam Curl's career, a day that will live in infamy forever. Doesn't get a single player of the week nod, no defensive player of the week, no nothing. He was the highest graded safety in the league, and he had 2 picks in a game that his team won by 1 possession. I don't know. I feel like that's player of the week type of stuff. But shout out to Cam Curl. What a stud, man. Staying in the league. I think he was a 7th-round pick, and this is like his 6th or 7th year in the league.
Just goes to show you that there was some talent on those teams that were so bad on Arkansas. Like Cam Curl was one of those guys who was on a bad team.
The worst defense, we talked about if this Arkansas defense now is the worst of all time, the best competition it has is that 2019 group. And Cam Curl was like the number 4 safety in the country, just hidden on that team for no reason.
Oh man. Yeah, no, it's that's true. That's true. So we'll have Brandon Marcelo. We'll get to your chats too here in a bit, but want to remind everybody, of course, here on Inside Arkansas, presented by our friends over at Walter Christmas Lighting of Arkansas, because we know that Halloween is upon us. We're in the month of Halloween, October, when it's getting spooky season. A lot of you are out there all about it. Well, get your house ready for Halloween by getting a free estimate with our guy Brett, texting 479-459-1380, because they're the best in the business. They're the professionals. They're going to come to your house and install those lights, set you up where they provide all the materials. You can do any color, any pattern. They are the ones that install the lights for you, and they give you free maintenance. So even if something goes out, if a strand goes out, they're going to get you taken care of. They're going to get you squared away, and it's all in the Northwest Arkansas and River Valley. But maybe, hey, you're not the Halloween type. That's okay, because Christmas, they do Christmas lighting. It's in their name. It's in their branding, and you can go ahead and get that scheduled and set up as well for the Christmas season. No matter what it is, Halloween or Christmas, call or text Brett for a free estimate at 479-459-1380. It's Walter Christmas Lighting of Arkansas, your local holiday lighting experts. Before we have Marcelo, there was a few chats also that I wanted to bring up and get into, because I know people like Trey here was saying Blueprint Sports, because this caused a stir last night on social media. Is just another 100-year check fumble. We are the only SEC school they represent. Why can we not get our NIL right? Is it leadership? There's a lot of questions in there, but for those of you curious, there was a story that came out because Blueprint Sports was something with Oregon State. And essentially, like this contract that Oregon State signed with them was madness. It was basically where, not to get to the mumbo jumbo, but essentially, if they made $3 million, Blueprint Sports or Oregon State had $3 million of NIL, Blueprint was getting 1.56 million of it, over half of what was being made. And so it was a big problem. And then people start bringing up Arkansas. I know Arkansas does not have that same contract. It's a bad one, but it's not that like that. But either way, yeah, I think Blueprint Sports and signing with them was a disaster from the get-go. And I think it's not going to be around for very much longer with Arkansas, hopefully.
Mm-hmm. I mean, several SEC teams, Tennessee, I know, was with Blueprint, or initially they jumped off board. There was a point where Blueprint had it's like 30, it was like a huge amount, like over 20, 25 schools at the D1 level, like legit power conferences. Almost all of them have dumped Blueprint Sports. Like there's only now the list is like 4 schools. It's like Arkansas, Oregon State. I think there's like a handful of others. It's that number has gone down drastically. So anybody who was with them either isn't with them anymore or deeply regrets it. And I think Arkansas is in that deeply regrets it category.
Yeah. And also they only have one employee now with the Arkansas thing, and it's the interim guy. So anyways, just a pretty big disaster that's going on over there. Let's see. Also, I think Seth's coming in here. Is a question of the Dabo Sweeney rumors believable? No, there's nothing believable about that. Like what? What do you mean? That he's interested, that he's the coach? Like these things are troll attempts. That's all I'm going to say to you is like, yeah, there are troll attempts. Like, yeah, that was Sweeney. Like, come on, man.
Sweeney got that drip.
He was related to Sydney Sweeney, it looked like, based on that shot.
Yeah, yeah, and then Lumiel says, did Summerall build Tulane, though?
This is a fair question, and I would say no, he didn't. Now, he did keep it rolling, but Willie Fritz definitely built Tulane. He was the one that took him. I think he took him to the Sugar Bowl 3 or 4 years ago, and that's what eventually led to him taking the Houston job, which is interesting because I feel like the Houston job's not that much of an upgrade, if at all, from Tulane. I don't know why Willie Fritz left, honestly, but yeah, Willie Fritz was a program building guy that was at Tulane for a while, and he did a really good job. So Summerall took over what was a pretty solid operation and has kept it very solid, very high level. And hell, they're always going to be one of those teams that's at the top of the group of 5 ladder. But I would say that's the question I would have with Summerall is, are you just kind of running an operation that was already built, or how much of the success you're having now is responsible because of you? That would be the question I would ask, but I don't think that Summerall's just going through the motions over there.
Also, Cats by 90 says, I've seen that arena list you put out in the pod at the Palace, Curtis. Let's just say I'm not happy.
Yeah, I spent the whole time. It was Andy Katz's list of the top 10 most vaunted arenas in college basketball, and my whole thing was like, I'm glad to see Arkansas on the list at 6, but when it's at the peak of its powers, it can be higher than that. And it goes back to what we were just talking about a few minutes ago. But as I was going through it in real time on the show, I was like, wait a second. Arkansas is the only SEC school on here. No Rupp, no Thompson Bowling, no nothing. No Jungle at Auburn, none of that. Just Bud, just the Palace.
Yep. I hate to say it that way. It's like,
sorry, Cats. Listen, Cats by 90, that was Andy Katz's list, okay?
Yeah. No, I was just going to say, Curtis, I mean, me and you went to Kentucky, and Andrew went to Kentucky too. And it's like, we saw that atmosphere at its peak, because it's not going to get any crazier than that one. And me and you, Curtis, went to Auburn, and they were number 1 and all that. And say maybe it was bad games or whatever, but still wasn't beating the peak Bud Walton Arena.
Wasn't very loud in that arena. There was a lot of people in there, but it was not a lot of volume. It was a very buttoned up V-neck and quarter zip wearing crowd. It looked like Ole Miss football almost.
Yeah. Well, it just makes me happy. That's the one thing where people can talk about like Baum Walker compared, and there's other really nice stadiums and all that in baseball, and in Razorback Stadium's, I think, nicer than what people get credit for, but it's also like not one of the peaks or anything. It's like basketball. I stand on that and die on that hill that it's the best atmosphere and arena in this SEC, and no one comes close. And it's just nice to see that proven over and over and over again. So, also, Vids for me says, are we having a members only stream tonight? We are.
Yeah.
We are having a members only.
What time do you want to do that, John? Let's talk about that right now publicly.
It's good. I wanted to do that. So it's I'm going to say it may have to be 8:30. Just saying, because I got to go and I got to film up at Channel 5 News. I got to do a segment up there at 7:30. So I just want to give myself enough time to get back. So 8:30.
Can I talk you into 9?
You absolutely. The later, the better. I mean, it's just a matter of when people wanted to do it, when you want to do it. But yeah, if you want to do 9, let's do 9.
I'm just going to be honest with you. My whole night is going to be based around Peacemaker which comes out at 8 p.m. And so I was going to say I could either do before or after. The episode will be about 40 minutes long, so I just need a little window there to watch Peacemaker.
Let's just make it 9 o'clock then. Let's make
9
it
o'clock.
easy.
You heard it here first, 9 p.m. Central Time.
Yep.
Well, people, as the family man of this operation, they have successfully talked me out of tonight's festivities, but everybody have fun.
What time window would work for you, Curtis?
Not the middle of the damn night, that's for sure. So
yeah, you try and sleep. If you can be asleep by 9, Curtis, I'll be impressed.
You'll understand when you have your first child that sleep doesn't happen at night. I could be free to join that, but y'all wouldn't be able to hear a damn thing. So good luck.
Well, we'll get it done. It'll be a fun time no matter what. That's for sure. So, all right. So we'll have some chats after this, but of course, Brandon Marcelo of CBS Sports, we were able to catch up with him and be joined by him. And he's been on top of a lot of things going on with Arkansas and with the college football landscape and knows a lot about coaching search and everything. It's a crazy time. So we had a chance to catch up with him. So let's go ahead and hear from what Brandon Marcelo has to say about the latest with the Razorbacks, the head coaching job, Petrino, all that madness here on Inside Arkansas Live. All right, right now here on Inside Arkansas, we're joined by a very special guest, a guy that knows all things college football, especially when it comes to the Razorback football team, because I don't know if anybody heard, but there's been some pretty chaotic news going on within the Razorback football program. And it is Brandon Marcelo of CBS Sports, college football writer and expert. And as always, Brandon, it's good to talk with you, man. It's not like you haven't been busy the past few days or anything, have you?
No, absolutely not. I just haven't. There's nothing happening in college football, and I haven't had literally like 40-something phone calls the last 2 days on a lot of other stuff, projects I've been working on. So it's wild.
Yeah, no, well, we appreciate you making time for us, man. And just to kind of, I know you've walked through everything with the Arkansas situation, the firing of Sam Pitman. We don't have to revisit all of that. But when you kind of just stand back and look at the fact that Bobby Petrino is the head coach of Arkansas once again, all things considered, like, do you feel like you're sometimes maybe just in a false, crazy reality? Like, did you ever think it would ever get to this point once again?
I kind of, I thought that, obviously the opportunity was there when he was hired as the OC. I kind of figured that was going to happen at some point, probably. Though I do know that if it happened last season, I'm not sure he would have been the interim head coach. I think it would have been someone else. But college football, nothing really surprises me anymore. Things have always kind of gotten crazier and crazier with every year. But when you try to contextualize it, and if you literally went back in the past and put me back where I was, 14 years ago or however long it was when the story broke, and then the information started coming out of what actually happened with Bobby Petrino, and then if you just said time traveled and said, okay, here's a picture 14 years from now, I'd be like, what the heck's going on? It would have shocked me, but I think what would just shock me even more is like if he were somehow to become a permanent head coach. Like, that's something I just can't seem to wrap my head around. But it's possible. That's possible now, and that's what's going to make these next 9 weeks fascinating at Arkansas.
Yeah, I know Razorback fans are kind of thinking the same thing. So in your mind, that possibility of Bobby Petrino being the permanent head coach at Arkansas moving forward, is it something as simple as wins and losses in these final 7 games? Is there a lot more to it? Is it more about having the backing? Like, what's the scenarios that have to play out for Bobby Petrino to become the permanent head coach of Arkansas?
Yeah, I think it's number one, it is wins and losses. I also think that it depends on who is backing him, how much more backing he could get. Could he get backing for some other boosters and everybody? Because he certainly has a couple of, strong backers right now off the field anyway. That's why he's in the position he's in right now. But I think it's just going to come down to simply wins and losses. And then even so, I still think Arkansas is going to go through the process of vetting candidates and figuring that all out based off what I know. And, I think it would take a miraculous run here, something like them going 5-2 or even maybe 4-3 against a schedule that has 5 ranked opponents remaining, and then the 2 other opponents are combined, I think, 7-3 at this point that aren't ranked. A record like that, or Arkansas whiffing on like 3, 4, 5 candidates. And again, the odds are stacked against Bobby Petrino, but they've been stacked against him quite a bit in his life, and he seems to find a way every now and again.
Well, he certainly has at least gotten back into that fold, and I think Razorback fans are hoping that something can happen these final 7 games. But I thought it was very interesting from Hunter Yurchek when he met with the media alongside Bobby Petrino, as he made the comments about how Sam Pittman financially wasn't set up to succeed at that level. But then in the same vein is talking about the next head coach is going to be set up, and we're going to have all this. And just what did you make of the financial situations there, not only with Pittman previously, but also, having people try to believe that the next coach, they are going to be fully supported differently than Sam Pittman. It just seems like there was a lot of miscommunication there.
Yeah, and he also said that they were actually pretty well set up with NIL this year, and even gave some figures, but then also said that Pittman wasn't financially set up. I think that there's several ways you can look into that, but I think one of the big things to take away from it is the talk about them restructuring things within the department itself, talking about needing an advanced scouting department when it comes to the transfer portal, because they don't have that right now. So that's something they need to invest in. The salary pool for assistant coaches, that's something that they're going to up, he said, to be more competitive. But in this day and age, it's not, the money doesn't need to be going toward the coaches. It needs to be going toward the players, because the players are one of the ones who wins games. You could have the cheapest coaching staff in the SEC, and as long as you have a mid-tier to upper-tier NIL situation and all that, you're going to be in a much better position than the opposite end.
So
I do know that they're changing things with their NIL. I know that's they're changing some things there just logistically. And then anytime naturally that there's a coaching change, there'll be more support. There always is. Boosters get a little bit more excited or whatever, and that's going to help them. But I think just structurally, there are some things that they're in the process of changing right now.
Well, Brandon, me and you have talked about, I know before, just as far as, okay, well, who the next coach is going to be. There's a billion candidates out there, but for Arkansas, it's about what type of job it is. Is it alluring to major coaches, whether they're ones that are currently in Power 5 or if they're somewhere else? But when you look at the job that Arkansas is and about what could be the financial support, I mean, where is this job? How good is this job? How bad is this job? What does it look like from an objective perspective?
There's several jobs open right now. I was asked right when the job came over for Arkansas, how would I rank it in the current landscape? And I said number 2 behind Virginia Tech. And they were surprised when I said that. And I said the reason why is because Virginia Tech has shown a plan going forward with their financial situation. They're upping their athletics department budget by a total of $229 million over the next 4 years. That's more than an average of $50 million more over the next 4 years each year. They're going all in on football. They've made that very clear. Is that technically a better job than Arkansas? I'm not so certain, not even branding wise, but it's in probably a better spot as far as a potential of winning in the ACC, because it's the ACC. And then also just they have shown on paper, here's what our plan is financially. You haven't seen that from Arkansas. And then also, I know everybody was getting upset with Hunter Yurchek about, Arkansas. Is Arkansas set up to win a national championship? But I mean, when was the last time anybody thought Arkansas was set up to win a national championship in football? I mean, you'd have to be out of your mind to think that in this current landscape, unless you just had an absolute windfall of cash, like $500 million or something into the Arkansas program, and then you're like, our NIL situation's out of this world. We've got a big time coach that everybody wants to come play for, and let's invest and bring them all in. I mean, the talent disparity in the SEC and across the country is there's more parity, I should say, than ever before. So it gives everybody more of a chance. But the problem is those top 8 to 10 teams that have the more talent, it's very hard to take that next step forward to be one of those teams. And Arkansas is not even in that mid-tier right now. They're below that. And until you could show some consistency of bringing in talent, holding on to talent, but also getting high school talent to come in and develop them over 2 to 3 years to complement that, it's very difficult to kind of imagine what Arkansas can do in this new age, because we haven't seen it really. But it would be nice if Arkansas like came out straight and goes, listen, we're making a coaching change, and this is also what our athletics department's going to look like, and this is the money we're going to have, and that's not the case. Though I know, like I said earlier, I know I'm like tiptoeing around, but there's only so much stuff I'm like at liberty to say. But they are changing some things. It's just like how much and what exactly is going to happen. The job will attract people, and I've talked to agents and coaches already who are interested in it. It's just, will they remain interested in it in a month when more jobs come open? And that's the question that whatever search firm Arkansas hires, they're going to have to determine, because they're going to reach out to these agents and everybody and go, one, are you interested? Also, here's a hypothetical. And this is what they'll do, the search firm. They're going to go, will you be interested still, you believe, if right now I was calling you and telling you the Florida job's open and this job's open, and Florida has this much money they're willing to give you, Arkansas has this much money they're willing to give you. Here's the expectation of what you need to do in year 2 at Florida. Here's the expectation of what you need to do in year 2 at Arkansas. They're going to put hypotheticals in front of them, not just immediate, like here's what we'd offer you, but also how do you feel about year 2 and year 3 at this place if it was this X, Y, Z? So that's a very good way of preparing yourself. So when the hirings and really start, which won't start to that first weekend in December, Arkansas will be in a better position. But that's still not going to change. Arkansas is just not going to be the best job out there, because there's going to be some big jobs that come open. This is going to be an historic cycle, because we barely had any jobs open in the Power Four. We also had no jobs open in the SEC, and it's going to be pretty crazy out there.
Well, before I let you get out of here, Brandon, going to your point and talking about how it's going to be set up and talking with agents and search firms and everything like that, is it simply come down, if Arkansas is going to be able to get one of these big hires that a lot of people are going to be after, is it simply a money thing? Is it simply a saying, hey, this is the amount of dollars we're going to be able to invest in the program? And is Arkansas, if it's your check or whoever's involved, going to be having to go to the big boosters and having to bring that in? Like, how much of a complicated issue is it going to be of trying to lure those coaches with the financial setup, especially if the messaging has kind of been out there publicly of Arkansas is not one of those programs that has invested, especially in somebody like Sam Pittman, like they did?
The coaching salary stuff won't be an issue. They'll be able to pay what they need to get. And the other fact of the matter is I think coaching salaries are starting to level out. We're already starting to see it because of NIL. But the big thing is for a coach now is, what's the NIL situation look like? How much money are you giving my assistants? What kind of department do I have? And that's going to be what really matters at this point. How do you pitch that? And then also just among the candidates, you've heard all the candidates, and a lot of those are very much people that Arkansas will be interested in. I think there's opportunities here because there are some candidates that have either Arkansas ties or are just familiar with Arkansas and could maybe do some things that would maybe excite people or gel with them more so than, say, if they were to go to a Florida or something like that. You've heard Rhett Lashley, G.J. Kinney, for example, Eric Morris at North Texas. You got some regional type names that I think would make more sense at a place like Arkansas than, say, Florida or elsewhere. And then, John Summerall at Tulane, to me, he's going to be in a position this year to go get a job that's bigger than Arkansas. So that's like one name. We talk at CBS Sports. We've been talking the last few weeks and talking to agents and everything. Like, if Arkansas comes open, which people made sense, and talking to agents, and like every time I talk to an agent or someone that mention John Summerall, I said, well, you can put John Summerall on there, but he's going to probably get a bigger job. Like, he's done so well for himself at Troy and then Tulane that he's going to be in that type of situation. And also, he's very demanding of what an NIL situation looks like. Tulane's NIL situation is fantastic. So I think that's just the one big question mark is like, what does the NIL situation and the financial backing actually look like on paper when they explain it? And if what they're explaining right now in public immediately after the firing is what they're saying to coaches, that's going to give them pause. But I do believe that whatever they're going to be telling these coaches and search firms is going to be a lot different from what they're actually saying publicly, because they're, I'm an Arkansas guy. I like to believe they're in a better spot than what you always hear. And I talk to people that are involved and looked at everything, and there are changes being made. There really are. And it's just certain things they can't really talk about right now. And I got full confidence this job's going to garner a lot of attention. It already has. I've already talked to agents. I've already talked to some coaches, and it's a job that interests people. It's got to be the right situation and right timing.
Well, I guess we'll find out after a few weeks. He is the guy that does all things college football, but covering all things college football coaching searches, and does it all for CBS Sports. It's Brandon Marcelo, national college football reporter. As always, Brandon, appreciate it, man. Hang in there and get some rest, man, when you can. We'll be catching up with you.
Try. I'm also I've been battling a bad head cold for like the last week and a half. You can't tell. So I'm floating outside my body at the moment.
Hey, he's a trooper, no doubt, man. Appreciate you. Okay, that was Brandon Marcelo, who is joining us and giving us the latest, and he's keeping up to date on all of that. And as well as with CBS Sports and, with what's been going on when he talked about Arkansas having some names that are in there that are interesting, people being interested in the job. It's just a matter of Arkansas, can they present it? That's the thing is I've been hearing a long time is that a lot of people are always interested in the Arkansas job. It just seems like they never hire them or not present it in the right way. And I don't know if this time will be any different, but still, it's fascinating to see what the approach is going to be here, knowing you have 7 games, 9 weeks, how you handle this head coaching job. Whoever's in charge of it's going to have their hands full for it.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting. And it's all going to depend on what other jobs come open and everything like that between now and when they're finally motivated to make a hire, when they're finally able to do that. So there's going to continue to be all kinds of twists and turns and everything. I did like hearing what he said. It's one thing at this point to hear it from Hunter Yurachek, but to hear from Marcelo that they are doing some things behind the scenes and things are going to change. They're working on some stuff, in the NIL department and everything. That's a positive. That's good to hear. We have heard that before, and it hasn't panned out to be as good as maybe we hoped or what we hope, but it's a necessary thing that has to go along with this coaching search and hire. So good to hear that things are in motion.
I think the big thing that I'm looking for in this whole thing, because right now we're hearing a lot of stuff from the Arkansas side. And of course, Brandon is as plugged in at talking to boosters, talking to people in the athletic department. And we're hearing this from the Arkansas perspective. I'm very interested once they start talking to coaches, how much are these coaches that they talk to just going to take what they hear and accept it? Or are they going to be asking their own questions? Are they going to be saying, hey, if I'm coming in, we're doing it this way. And if we're coming in, this is our plan for NIL. This is our plan for this. I wonder what those conversations are going to look like. And so it's going to be fascinating hearing how the temperature of these conversations change a little bit and kind of what Brandon's going to be hearing. Because, by the way, I don't envy Brandon at all because he's got a lot of stuff on his plate for the next few months, man. Like, that's going to be a lot of fun to track all that. And so we're going to do our best to keep up. But it is going to be very interesting to hear how some of these things start changing. And you may hear one thing one week, and then another booster starts pushing this thing. We may hear a different thing another week. And we haven't even talked to coaches yet, which is, of course, going to be a whole nother variable that changes this whole thing.
Is any other coach going to get asked about this job, like in a press conference? We've already seen a few, like with I guess, what is it? Jeff Traylor didn't get asked, but he brought it up. But, Brett Lashley did. Are there going to be any other active coaches that are going to get it mentioned to them?
Didn't GJ Kinney, not specifically to Arkansas, but it was like being connected to other jobs and stuff. I think he had something about that. But yeah, there's no doubt in my mind, especially once we get closer to the end of the season and you start taking rumors and hot boards and stuff a little bit more seriously. I bet there's going to be another good handful of guys who are asked about it.
I mean, at this point, it seems like someone's going to have to ask Dabo about this crap. And so we'll see if we get that. But yeah, Kenny, the way Kenny spoke, it almost made it sound like he told his players he's taking a job at the end of the year. The way that his players were like, we appreciate the transparency. the future is the future, but we're going to do what we got to do now. Like the way he said it almost made it sound like he told his team, hey, I'm dipping after this year.
Yeah. Yeah. And also, I think it'd just be funny to have some sort of plant in all these press conferences just to ask random coaches about the Arkansas opening that have zero chance. But like, just ask Kirby Smart. Just be like, hey, Kirby, there's some speculation out there that you'll be taking the Arkansas job. What are your thoughts? It's like
Sumrall, Mullen will both for sure be asked if I had to guess.
Yeah, I would say that. I was trying to think if you have any other coaches that would be. I feel like Eli Drinkwitz is going to have somebody ask him the question, so he can publicly say something about it just because he wants to be asked about it. Like he could be in there. And I don't know if Florida State offers their OCs or anything for like interviews, but I was going to say maybe Gus Malzahn gets asked about if he was over there. Golly, yeah, it'd be rough. So, yeah, I don't know. We'll see. It's just amazing how some of the coaches that Arkansas wants or that some fans want, some of them aren't even employed right now. Like they're just hanging out, not even being coaches right now or anything like that. So, this chat from Filthy Tom, real quick, says, how confident are y'all in the role of the search firms? Listening to y'all, it sounds like outsourcing. Biddy makes it seem standard. I'm confused.
I would say listen to us a little bit closer.
Yeah, that's
it's a necessary evil that you have to do right now. Athletic director to coach or like athletic director to agent conversations in the middle of a season, not so much of a thing. A lot of times they won't even have those conversations because if they do, it's just so much easier for that to get leaked and to get out there. And nobody wants that. Like if you're coaching a team right now, whether you have every intention of taking the Arkansas job or not, that's not what you want. So you have to have that search firm to be able to, what do they call it? What if your check call it an intermediary? I think in terms of, kind of being the go-between there. So no, this is a thing. Now, the question I think is still up for debate as to when we talk about who is making the hire, the search committee. There's a difference in a search firm that's helping now and a search committee. And is it Juracek that's leading that up and is the final decision maker? What, board members or boosters or who are going to be involved in that committee that are going to wind up making this decision. And if I recall correctly, Hunter even said at the time on Monday, like they're still figuring that out. They're still putting that together. And that's why he said what he said when he was asked about making the hire, where he was like, I haven't been told anything to the contrary, but they're still determining what that team looks like as far as I know.
Yeah, the role of a search firm to, like you said, Curtis, have that communication of that mediation between athletic department and a coach or his agent and whatever, you have to go through that. So in that case, that is very standard. Hunter's role in the search is not just determined by that. Like that in and of itself means nothing, but we are of the belief, or at least I am of the belief, I don't want to speak for these guys, I am of the belief that Hunter is not super involved in the decision-making process that's going on here. And that's just based on everything we've heard, reading the tea leaves. So him hiring, or the university hiring a search firm is not evidence that Hunter Juracek is not super involved in the decision. But I believe that completely separately, and that's why you brought up the search committee, which I think the university is going to have, which when that committee could have some board of trustees, some people with money, some boosters, some people in the athletic department, like people, the president of the university, like that. I think those people are going to be much more involved in this decision, and the people that have money are going to be much more involved in this decision than Hunter Juracek. But the search firm is not related to that, in my opinion.
Right. And I don't know if there's like an agenda here or what, but I want to follow up because he says, did I misunderstand that y'all spoke negatively about hiring a search firm? I can pull receipts. Well, go pull the receipts if you want.
Sure, yeah.
There's nothing negative about hiring a search firm. Now, one thing that I said during this whole process was, is Hunter Juracek going to be the one making this hire? How confident is everyone in Hunter Juracek making this hire? And do they need to outsource it like they did the stadium naming rights with Learfield? Because it's been over a year and nothing moved from that standpoint with him. So that was my immediate thought process. Do they hire a search firm like some do to do the hiring process? Do they trust him with it? What does that look like, given you're having this issue with the stadium naming rights now? And this is financially, that's a big deal, but this is a bigger deal in terms of the future of the football program here.
Yeah, it's like we're the blinds are blurred a little bit here, because like there are a lot of things that we speak negatively about Hunter Juracek, a lot of them very much so, and like you said, outsourcing the naming rights thing, not being super involved in the coaching staff. The search firm thing, I think, is what you're getting hung up on, Filthy Tom, and that's what that really is a factor of this, but it has nothing to do with the big picture stance on what we feel about Hunter Yurachek or what we feel about his involvement in this. And I think and by the way, on the thing you're talking about Monday, when we reacted to it, he said the comments, Hunter, about, search firms, that's just normal what we do. And I was like, yeah, he's right about that. Like, search firms are completely standard practice. They have nothing to do with this overall big picture discussion of who is actually making this decision.
Yeah. And also too, it's a matter of how you use the coaching firm or the searching firm, or how you're using this outsourcing. Are you using it to be like, well, I have no idea what I'm doing, so I need some like help for this? Or is it like, hey, I'm doing this as far as advice, or doing it as a direction, or doing it as a safety net? It's just about the intention, which you may not know. None of us may know, but yeah, I think it's just as you brought up, Curtis, like just the amount of outsourcing that gets done is crazy. Like the amount of outsourcing it's done. So it's on brand for it. It's not the end of the world, but it's on brand.
If that's what you need to do to make a good hire, be my guest.
Yeah.
Or if Hunter can make a good hire, be my guest. As long as they make a good hire, I don't really give a damn how they go about doing it.
Yeah.
Okay. Last thing I'll say to Dami. You're correct. We are saying Hunter Yurachek is not super involved in the decision-making process. We are not citing the search firm as the reasoning for that. And that's what you need to understand. And I don't know what I'm saying that's not being interpreted correctly here. We are of the belief. Right. We are of the belief.
He walked in here and started mentioning whatever bit he's saying. Right. That's just
the
what
search
it is.
firm is not proof of him not being involved. We are saying that based on things that we hear behind the scenes, and based on, honestly, some of the other things he said in that press conference, and the fact that he's not involved in a lot of things. Like, he was not involved, obviously, in hiring Dave Van Horn, who was here before he got there. We don't think he was heavily involved in the Coach Calipari thing, although he did have to have conversations. Like, I think there are other people that are going to make this decision. The search firm is not an example of that.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And, there's a lot of moving parts of this. It's stuff that people are going to hear and people are going to be involved. But, again, people are going to hear whatever they want to hear, apparently, as we know. So it's all good. But, well, guys, any final thoughts before we roll out of here? Inside Arkansas Live?
Yeah, housekeeping note, pot at the Palace, not in the morning, not at 5 a.m. in the morning. Reason being is because we're expecting a commitment announcement from Abdou Toure sometime mid to late morning on Friday. So I would kind of be previewing that, or previewing primetime at the Palace, which we're going to do again at 6 o'clock. So I'm going to wait. And one way or the other, whether he commits to Arkansas or commits elsewhere, we're going to have a reaction to that. That'll go out when it happens. Then we'll have pot at the Palace primetime from Goat Lab Red at 6 o'clock. And then after primetime at the Palace, we'll have some reaction to that as well. So you won't wake up to a 5 a.m. episode of the pot at the Palace, but you'll get 3 over the course of the day. I hope that's a fair trade-off.
Yeah, I think we'll make it work. And
right.
I am looking forward, Curtis, to our conversations that we are going to have at Primetime Pot at the Palace, or the preview of Primetime Pot at the Palace. I've got a draft board. I've got everything, and I'm ready to draft a team that will kick your team's ass.
I like that.
I'm looking forward to that.
A lot.
I'm also looking forward to this Thursday afternoon, although I do have to fix a flat tire. That kind of sucks, but it's a great day to be alive. By the way, we're sticking with 9 p.m. tonight, right?
9 p.m.
For me, I know you're on the East Coast, Phil. I know you're on the East Coast as well. We'll make it work, though, right?
We'll make it work.
And we're going to be not 4 hours long.
No.
Not 4 hours.
Not going to be 4 hours long. But also in good news, though, for memberships, just found this out, guys. You can now become a member from your mobile phone on YouTube. So they started that in October. YouTube did. So all of y'all that have been like, I can't figure it out, because we were like, we don't know. Like, you always had to go to your desktop browser. Not anymore. Apparently, starting now, you can become a member by watching on your phone too, which I don't understand why it took so long for that to happen, but that's the case. So yeah, we'll have a membership, members only stream tonight, have some fun. Yeah, Intel, coaches Intel, all the Intel out. The Intel is all going to be just a lot of Intel. So, but yeah, that'll do it for us. Appreciate everybody listening in and watching in. Be sure to subscribe, as we're always going to be right on top of it when it comes to all things coaching searches, comes to anything going on with Razorback basketball, Razorback baseball, Razorback recruiting, all of it. It's happening right here at Inside Arkansas. So be sure to subscribe to us. Follow us on social media at Inside Arkansas as well. And we'll keep it going from there. And that'll do it for us today. For Andrew Ellis, as well as Curtis Wilkerson and intern Cameron, I'm John Neighbors. Same sports show, same sports channel tomorrow at noon. Great rest of your day, everybody. See you then.